So Ned's first chapter gives us the arrival of King Robert's host at Winterfell, which is 300 men strong, and we get introductions to Jaime Lannister, Sandor Clegane, Tyrion Lannister, and also Joffrey. The Kingsguard are also noted to have snow-white cloaks here for the first time, and we get the arrival of Robert himself, who is 6.5 feet tall and has an antlered helm and wields a spiked warhammer in battle. Now Ned notes it was 15 years ago that they went to war after growing up in the Eyrie together, and Ned also notes that he last saw Robert 9 years ago during the Greyjoy Rebellion, where he took Theon as his ward during the Greyjoy's surrender. Now together, Robert and Ned enter the crypts, where cold wind blows from deep below the earth, which is strange when we consider the fact that Winterfell is very notably built on a hot spring, so why is there cold wind blowing from below? Within the crypts of Winterfell, we find that there are stone statues that line the insides of the tunnels in rows, which sit here with iron swords across the laps, and these are the former kings of winter. Now, it is said that this is implied to be that the sword being iron, which in a lot of mythology counteracts magic, is said to keep the vengeful spirits inside the tombs. And also we find that the oldest of these tombs are rusted away, which makes me wonder, does this imply, as Ned thinks, that this means that these spirits are now free to roam? And it does seem curious that the whole idea of keeping them in the tombs may have in actual fact been a safeguard against wights. We also see that Ned seems to think that the eyes of the statues follow them while they are down there, and that they appear to disapprove of Robert's style of ruling. Ned also seems to think that they are all listening to him, which is, again, interesting as far as the lore of how the crypt's work goes. We also find that further in, there are actually empty spaces where future Starks will be buried in the crypts. And we also learn at this point of the history of Ned's family during the rebellion, as his brother, Brandon, died only 20 years old when he was strangled to death by the Mad King. And then days later, upon discovering this, Ned was then wed to Catelyn in Brandon's stead, which appears to be a tradition in this world, as we see later with Joffrey and Tommen. We also find that Ned's sister, Lyanna, was only 16, and Ned was with her when she died, and she told him to promise her something, and the memory brings to mind blood and roses to him. He then also notes that they had found him holding her, and we also discover that Howland Reed was there. Whatever happened at this point, Robert then vowed to kill Rhaegar for what he did to her, which we find out later on happens way before Ned finds her. And Robert did in fact kill Rhaegar long before this in the Battle of the Trident, where when he kills him with his warhammer, he scatters rubies from his breastplate all across the trident, which people attempt to collect as a sort of folklore. We also find that the others get mentioned in this chapter when they are discussing things, and it appears that the others are viewed with disdain, as certain phrases relating to the others seem to imply a form of malicious backing towards them, as we get the phrases of "the others take my wife" or "the others take your mild snow," which appear to basically be the Westeros version of "get to fuck." So what is also interesting here is the fact that Robert says "the others take my wife," which, based on certain imagery which surrounds his wife Cersei, may in actual fact be foreshadowing for later in future books. Now we also get the setup for the events to come in this book here, as we learn that there was a tourney for Robert's son Joffrey's name day, and then a fortnight later the Hand of the King, Jon Arryn, died. Lysa then fled with her son who was meant to be getting fostered with Tywin, and we learn that her son Robin is 6 years old and very sickly. Tywin has also notably never took a ward before. It is also funny to note that Robin's real name is Robert, and it implies that Jon Arryn named him for King Robert, just like how Ned's kids do appear to be named after people in his life, as Jon is named after Jon Arryn, and Robb appears to be named after Robert as well, with Bran presumably being named after his brother Brandon. And so we end the chapter on 2 notes made by Ned. The Night's Watch is but a shadow of what it once was, and also that Robert intends to wed their kids. Joffrey will, when he comes of age, marry Ned's daughter Sansa, who is currently only 11 years old.